Let's move on. So we are talking about the portfolio expected return. So in an attempt to find your portfolio expected return, you should be able to know your individual expected return. You should be able to know your individual expected return. So from our illustration 1 or from chapter 1, that particular illustration there, we are going to inculcate it over here. Now, assuming that we have 100 Ghana cedis and we want to invest 50 Ghana cedis in investment A and then 50 Ghana cedis in investment B. Now, the question is, what is the portfolio expected return on this particular investment? What is the portfolio expected return on this particular investment? Now, looking at the question, given that expected return for A is 7% and expected return for B is 9%, and the standard deviation for A is 14.18, standard deviation for B is 11.14. How are we going to solve the expected portfolio return? If I should break it down for you, given that I have 100 Ghana cedis and I want to invest it in 2 of you, I want to give it to 2 of you, and one person is Delphina, the second person is Richmond. But as for Delphina, any money you give her, you are going to make 7% on that money, or Delphina can give you 7% extra profit. Richmond will give you 9% extra profit. So at the end of the day, these 100 Ghana cedis that I have, I wanted to give Del 7 and give Richmond 9. I want to give Delphina 50 Ghana, give Richmond another 50 Ghana. Somebody will say, but why don't I give Richmond all the 100, since Richmond can give me 9 and Del will give me 7, so that I forget about Delphina. But investment doesn't work like that. You can see that the risk associated to Delphina's code is 14.18. This person's code is 11.14. So you weigh the two together. But let's forget about the risks for now. Now the question is, what is our portfolio expected return? So this 100 Ghana, if I give it to these two people, how much am I going to get in total from the 2 of them? And that is the weight multiplied by the expected return. Now, the proportion of the money you are investing into the investment is what we call the weight or the probability. The proportion of the money you are investing is the weight or the probability. So at the end of the day, I have 100 Ghana cedis and I'm going to invest into them. So the first thing I need to know is to compute my weight. And I told you that the weight here now is equal to how much am I pumping into Delphina? 50 Ghana cedis, right? So it's equal to the proportion I'm investing into Delphina divided by the total investment. So I come here. So weight of A, I'm investing 50 Ghana cedis into here out of the 100 Ghana cedis. So at the end of the day, I'll get 0.5 for the first one. So weight of A is going to be this, 50 over 100. Then I get the first one. Now, when I want the weight of B, how much am I investing into B? It is 50 over 100. So at the end of the day, the money I have and I want to invest into these 2 people, I have shared it in proportion 0.5, 0.5, or 50% is going to A, 50% is going to B. So at the end of the day, to find my expected return now is equal to the 0.5, the proportion I'm giving to A, the 50 Ghana cedis I'm giving to A, which I end up finding it to be 0.5. So it is 50% multiplied by the 7% that Delphina will give me, plus the proportion I'm investing into Richmond. How much am I investing into Richmond? Another 50%. So 0.5 multiplied by how much will Richmond give me if I pump in into Richmond? 9%, 0.9. So I'm going to get 0.08, which when I convert, I will get 8%. Or somebody can say 0.5 multiplied by 7. You will use the absolute figures. That is the 7% plus another 0.5 multiplied by 8. Look at what I'm doing very carefully so that you not go and fumble and make mistakes. Students normally do these mistakes even in an examination. Now, if you are going 0.5 multiplied by 0.07, don't come here and say 0.5 multiplied by 9. You'll get it wrong. So it is 0.09 or 0.09. And the answer you are going to get is this. You will not get 8% straight away. When you do it this way, you are going to get 0.08. It is when you convert it before you know that it is what? 8%. Now, the student that also goes like this, 0.5 multiplied by 7, 0.5 multiplied by 8 will get 8% straight. Why? Because he has used the absolute figures over here, 7 and 8. But that does not mean that he should also come here and then use the absolute here, 50. You get it wrong. The reason why students who end up going this way sometimes get answers wrong is that they fail to understand that when you are using the absolute figures, as for the probabilities, it must always be in the 0 points. So sometimes to be on the safer side, everything I convert it into 0 point something, so that I'll be on the safer side. So once you have that mentality that everything must be in 0 points, so that I will also get my answer in 0 points before I convert my final answer into absolute, the chances of you making a mistake is very low. But when you are found of doing it in the second way, which is also correct, in that manner, you must be cautious of everything that you are doing. And people who are experienced or people who understand it and know what they are doing will go by the second. Then I'll teach you all so that you go by whichever one suits you, because your understanding is what is paramount. So whichever one you think you are best comfortable with, you go with that. But with me, I think this one is the best, because the chances of you making mistakes here is very, very low. So at the end of the day, we end up seeing that our portfolio expected return is 8%. Now, there is something funny about this. Whenever you are supposed to find portfolio expected return, portfolio standard deviation, on and on and on and on and on. For the portfolio expected return, there is no way your answer you are going to get will lie above 7 and 9%. It is going to be in between the 7 and 8, the 9%, meaning that you are going to get an answer higher than the lowest expected return, but lower than the highest expected return. So in a nutshell, you are going to get an answer that is higher than 7%, but lower than 9%. So if you solve this question, and then you are getting answer like 6.8%, you already know that there is something wrong. If you solve this question and you get a portfolio expected return of 10%, you know that onset there is something wrong. Yes, Mercy, your hand is up. Let's hear you.
Sema,
Yes.
please, I didn't get the explanation well.
For which one?
If you, like, I mean, if you, why is it that maybe we are getting 8? You were explaining it, but then I didn't
Okay.
hear it. My line was going, it was on and off, so I didn't hear it.
Okay. I was saying that whenever you have been asked to find portfolio expected return, know that the answer you are going to get is going to be in between the highest individual return they gave you and the lowest individual return they gave you. So let's say I gave you individual returns of, let's say, 7, 10, 11, 15, 25. I gave you 4 different expected returns. Now, if I ask you to find a portfolio expected return, given that all of them have equal probability, you are not going to get an answer less than 7%, and you are also not going to get an answer more than 25%. That is what it means. I get you the scenario. So with this, our illustration, we were given 7% and 9%. Which means that from the onset, you know that the answer I'm going to get is going to be higher than 7% and must also be less than what? 9%. So when you solve it and you have 8%, at least you know you are correct. I get it. Statistically, you are correct because that is how it's supposed to be. But maybe mathematically, you might be wrong. When I say statistically, you are correct, you understand? Because every statistic, that is where the answer must be. The answer must lie in between the two. But mathematically, you are wrong. Maybe you are supposed to write 0.07, then you wrote 0.006. I get it. You can have it, you can get it wrong, but statistically, you are right. I get it the scenario. Good. So that is how we find portfolio expected return. Take notes, without the weight, without this, you can't solve a portfolio question. So when they give you a portfolio question and the weight is missing, ladies and gentlemen, you can't do it. You must always identify the weight before you can solve the question. If you are unable to identify the weight, you cannot solve the question. But there are exceptions. If you have been given 2 investments and the weight has not been given, you can still solve the question. So with this, I can say, assuming we have 100 Ghana cedis and we want to invest it in investment A and B. So let's say I made this one off 100 Ghana cedis, and you want to invest it in investment A and B. What is the portfolio expected return? Don't raise up your hand and tell me that the weight is missing. So it is wrong. The question is absolutely correct. Now, when I gave two of you 100 Ghana cedis, and I say share it, and I did not give you the sharing ratio, all things being equal, you will share it 50 Ghana, 50 Ghana. Is that right? Good. So at the end of the day, when you have been given two investments and the weight has not been given, we assume that the weight in this investment is 50-50. So when you are giving the question with two investments without the weight, assume that the weight is 50-50, 0.5, 0.5. Don't go and say 0.6, 0.4. Don't go and say 0.7, 0.3. No. You assume an equal weight for them. If you have been given 5 investments and you have not been given the weights, you assume equal weight for all the 5. If you have been given 10 investments and you have not been given the weight, you assume equal weight for all of them. In percentage wise, the total weight should be equal to 100%. In probability terms, the total weight should be equal to 1. So when you are not giving the weight and the investment are 10, then I can divide 1 by 10. So I'll say 1 divided by 10. And then I'm going to get 0.1 for all the 10 investment. That is going to be the weight. When I've been given 10 investment and I've not been given the weight, I can divide 100% by 10. And then I'll get 10% for all the investment. So if you have not been given the weights, you need to assume equal weight for all the investment, given that a weight is equal to, or total weight is equal to 1 or 100%. That is the first exception. Number 2, if you have been given the weights, that is parts of the weights, leaving one of the investment. Don't say that they gave you 1, so you cannot do the 1. So I give 2 of you 100 Ghana cedis. Then I say, oh, Delphina, take 50 Ghana cedis, without saying that Richmond, take 50 Ghana cedis. So I say, oh, Del, this 100 Ghana cedis for you and Richmond. Take 50 Ghana cedis. I didn't say anything about Richmond. Automatically, Richmond knows that he will also take how much? 50 Ghana cedis. Or I say, Del, this 100 Ghana cedis is for you and Richmond. Take 30 Ghana cedis. Automatically, will Richmond take 50 Ghana cedis? No. Richmond will take how much? I'm going to call somebody to answer. So I've given Richmond and Delphina 100 Ghana cedis. Then I say, Delphina, take 30 Ghana cedis. Then I didn't say anything about Richmond. Richmond, you're on floor. How much will you take?
So I didn't hear you. Your line was wrong.
You will hear me, don't worry. I have given you and Delphina 100 Ghana cedis, right?
Okay.
And I said Delphina should take 30 Ghana cedis. I didn't indicate how much you should take. But all being equal, how much will you take from Delphina?
I'll take 70 cedis.
You take 70 cedis. If I give the 2 of you 100 Ghana cedis again, then I said, Del, take 50 Ghana cedis. How much will you take?
I'll be taking 50.
You'll be taking 50. When I said, Del, take 90 Ghana cedis, how much will you take?
I'll take 10 cedis.
Fantastic. So it means that when you have been given several investments, and then they have given you the weight of all of them, with the exception of 1, don't hesitate to know the weight of the one that is left. It means that when you know all of them, you subtract it from the total weight, and then what is left is meant for the one that has not been given. So if I give you a question, then I say I've invested 30% in A. Don't wait for me to tell you that 70% is going to B. These are some of the things, and these are where anybody who wants to test your knowledge in weight in investment will test your knowledge. He will give you parts, and then will leave parts, and then will ask you to find it. You don't raise up your hand and say that it is not there. It is there. Now, let's look at an example. Let's look at an example. So I've talked much. Now, this is an example on your screen. Assuming that we have 100 Ghana, and then we invested 60% in A, what is the portfolio expected return? So I'm giving you the next 1 or 2 minutes, just solve it. So we have 100 Ghana cedis, and then we have invested 60% in A. Given that expected return for A is 14%, expected return for B is 16%. What is the expected portfolio return? So you do it, and then I'll call somebody to give me the answer. Yes, Jacob, you are on floor.
Please, you
said?
I didn't get you. Will you please come again?
Your network. Your network is breaking. So if you can, the question you wanted to ask, you can type the question for us all to see, or you send the question as a voice note on the WhatsApp platform. I will access it, then I'll give you that explanation. Your network is breaking. So Jacob, either you type the message for us all to see here, or you send it as a WhatsApp voice note, then I'll access it via the WhatsApp, and then I'll give you an answer here.
Okay.
Yeah, Jacob.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, what I was saying was that I was not getting you well, so if you come back again, so that I get you.
Where are you not getting?
My line only was so when you were getting the solution to the example 1, I couldn't get you. So if you come back again, or later if the recording will come.
So for the first example, we said we have 100 Ghana cedis and we want to invest it 50 Ghana cedis. We want to invest 50 Ghana in A, 50 Ghana in B. And what is the expected portfolio return? So we say that given that expected return for A is 7%, expected return for B is 9%. Now, we said if you want to find a question like this, or you want to solve the expected portfolio return, I gave you the steps. That the first thing you must do is to identify the individual investment weights. So the money 100 Ghana I'm pumping into A. In probability, what is the probability? So I divide the 50 by the 100, I get 0.5. I divide the other 50 I'm investing in B by the 100, I get another 0.5. So it means that this money that I have to invest, 0.5 is going to A, 0.5 is going to what? Is going to B. So what do? We said portfolio expected